I'll tell you something that we perhaps won't all agree on, to put it mildly, is Rishi Sunak's little idea, his plan, his commitment, should I say, actually, that he's going to stop the small boats. There's been loads of pontificating over how he's going to do that, what it would look like and all the rest of it. And apparently, imminently, we're going to see this plan with all those answers. Now, it would mean that if you cross the channel illegally, you would face a lifetime ban from acquiring British citizenship or from trying to re-enter the country. But no sooner as these rumours being printed in the press, you guessed it, the criticism has gone crazy from various charities and all the rest of it, basically saying it's all inhumane. John McTernan, your thoughts?
It won't work. What's being briefed is that Rishi's going to pass a law that says if you come to the country illegally, you can't ever be a refugee or asylum seeker. This is the law he passed last year and the law he passed the year before. He can't do it. It's a breach of British law. It's a breach of the European Convention on Human Rights, and it's physically impossible to do it because it is almost impossible to return a large number of people who come to our country because the countries that they come from are unsafe to be returned to. They can't be sent. We can't send somebody back to Afghanistan.
France is not unsafe,
we can't send people back to Libya. We can't send people back to Syria.
France?
We can't send people back to France because we don't have an agreement with the European Union on returns. We have a country and a government which has broken its relationships with the European Union, has just managed to sort them with the European Union over the Northern Ireland with the Windsor framework. But there's no agreement for returns with anybody in the European Union. We left that process when we left the European Union. Every single problem around this has been created by the government, and it is also, it's important to say 80% of people who apply for asylum in this country get asylum, and there is currently no legal route to get here. Of course, people come illegally. If there's no legal route, give them a legal route.
There are legal routes.
There aren't. Name one.
Yes, there are. I can name a few, actually, because guess what, folks? I'm actually prepared tonight. That makes a change, doesn't it?
Ukrainian.
No, so yes, a Ukrainian. Yes, well done. You've asked me to name one. You've come up with one yourself. There you go.
For
Ukrainian one.
For Afghanistan?
There are Afghanistani ones, actually.
They're still in Pakistan, lost the Afghanistani people.
But there are schemes. And by the way, when you say...
And Syrians?
Somalis? When you say with a straight face, by the way, that all of this is caused by this current government, and then you talk to me about things like Afghanistan and all the rest of it, many people will be shouting at their screens. I can envisage you eating your tea, shouting everyone, saying, actually, if there wasn't so much British involvement in foreign conflicts, places like Iraq, etc., under, for example, the Blair government, then you wouldn't have so many people trying to flee their homelands in the first place.
Afghanistan, we went to Afghanistan in the 19th century because the British Empire went to Afghanistan, went to Somaliland, went to Syria, went to Iraq. Because of the Empire went there, we have refugees coming from there. The Empire caused this issue.
I mean, I don't even know how you can say it with a straight face. I do want to come back on you, but I'm very conscious that Mark is also...
So I'm just going to comment. So can this plan work? I don't think any of us know if it's going to work or not, but I think we've got to throw everything we've got at solving the issue of the small boats crossings for three reasons, right? One, right now, the nasty, evil people smugglers are the one making the money that are causing people to die. It's in the hands of the criminals, not the sovereign government of the United Kingdom and elsewhere. Two, the government have promised that they're going to put this right now. They've absolutely got to get it right and solve it, or they haven't got a hope in hell of winning the next election. And thirdly, and perhaps for me the most important reason why we've got to get it right, is because this is one of the most tolerant, welcoming countries on the planet. Survey after survey after survey shows what an incredible success we've had in this country of welcoming people from all around the world and integrating people into the country. I live in Bedford. I've been there 20 years. It is one of the most welcoming, diverse places you can find with people from all around the world. When my nan came to this country as a small child, she was welcomed into this country, and the only way we can keep people already living here happy and as tolerant as welcoming towards newcomers as we have been historically is if we clamp down on the illegal immigration so that people feel that the rules are being followed and that there's fair play going on. So we've got to crack it. It's not going to be easy. I do feel the need to mention the fact that the Centre for Policy Studies, who I work for, released a report on this a couple of months ago, and it's largely what the government appear to be following, trying to deal with this problem. But we've got to put it right to get people following the rules and giving them safe routes into the country or into asylum.
Do they have the kahunas to do it, though? Because this Rwandan plan was apparently deemed legal back in December. why wouldn't Rishi Sunak just go, right, do you know what? It's been deemed legal. I'm just going to send a flight over there and I'll deal with the consequences as and when they care.
And I think they've got to work through each of the individual cases that they'd had lined up to send out to Rwanda.
At that.
But the other thing to bear in mind is, like, governments have got to get their ducks in order before they move on stuff. So we've got this thing with Northern Ireland, you know, we've got a deal there, tick. OK, we've got the 5 promises that they're working on around getting inflation down and so on, tick. Now they're moving on to the small boats thing. They're going to do things in order. Now, they've got to deliver. It's one thing saying it and another thing delivering it, but let's at least give them the chance to see what they're going to do with this bill in Parliament, see what the plan is around Rwanda and other countries, because there's talk of them lining up places with other countries. And then let's see whether they can make it work. But they've got to make it work for, you know, legal and moral reasons.
I mean, you go on about the empire, John. You say, oh, yeah, the government's caused all this. And then when I say to you, well, hang on, but what about the former governments, for example, interfering in places like Iraq, Afghanistan? Then you say to me, no, that's to do with the empire. But you will concede, I'm sure, that the vast majority of, when you look at the nationality and who it is that's currently getting on those boats, they're Albanians. There's no international conflict there.
80% of Albanians who apply for asylum seeker status in this country get granted asylum seeker cases. They get granted. It's very tight. It's because the Home Office, they fit the definition of refugees and asylum seekers that the Home Office operate. The Home Office run by Suella Braverman. The Home Office run by Priti Patel. The Home Office run by Theresa May. These are not softies, and their staff are terribly bad at processing. They do 5 cases a month.
But when you say 80% of the current Albanian, I was going to say
they're
crop.
Trafficked,
but hang on, 80% of those people don't get their asylum claims processed because there's such a big backlog that they haven't even had their asylum claims picked up. Do you think that we should even offer asylum to people from a safe country? I don't.
We have an agreement with Albania for returns of those who don't get granted refugee status. That's one country which we do have an agreement with. I think that returns agreements are important. They depend on trust between our country, our government, and other countries. But you can't have a returns agreement with Libya. You can't have a returns agreement with Afghanistan. You can't have a returns agreement with Syria because of the war-torn state there. You can't have a returns agreement with Somaliland. So therefore, the returns policy doesn't. You know, there's not safe countries to return people to, and we can't return people to France. We could process people in France if we had an agreement, and then leave them in France if they don't get. But we do all these conflict zones, like the ones that you mentioned, because any decent person, and I would challenge anyone, if you're a decent person, you don't want to see people struggle and suffer. So when you talk about people in Afghanistan and all the rest of it, everybody that's sane, decent would want those people to be safe and well. And France got every single one of its interpreters out and translators out and its staff out that support it in the months before the fall of Kabul, and the British government tried to scramble after the fall of Kabul. It's the incompetence as well as the heartlessness of this government which is heartbreaking, actually.
Yeah, so I mean, by the way, we talk about safe and legal routes. The Ukraine scheme was mentioned, the Afghan relocation resettlement schemes, for example. We do process people that come by
Hong Kong as well. Welcome loads of people from Hong Kong in recent times.
Yeah, we're a decent nation, but what people don't like, John, and by the way, when I said this to you the other day, I was saying to you about people being put up in 4-star hotels. You told me that you didn't even think people were in
4-star hotels.
Yes, they are 4-star hotels. And I don't know how you can think that they're not.
People can't be welcoming when you see the pictures of people picketing a hotel in Kegworth in Leicestershire. That is just disgraceful.
But why? I'm telling you they're in 4-star hotels and you're telling me that they're not. Why do you think that they're not?
Well, because they're just in the cheapest accommodation.
But that's not true.
Cheapest accommodation that can be found by the Home Office.
No, they're not.
The Home Office does not go around.
John, respectfully, and I don't mean to be rude, you're a little bit out of date because we started that way. You started putting people in the cheap and cheerful places. All of those very quickly filled up. You've got about 45, 48,000 people. Those cheap and cheerful places are long gone. We are now up to 4-star hotels. People are getting their wedding venues cancelled. There's one, literally 5 minutes away from where my family live, that's very well reported in the press. Beautiful view of the Humber, 4-star hotel that has now been requisitioned by the Home Office. There are loads.
Time for an amnesty, then.
What do you mean an amnesty?
Just grant asylum status, refugee status to everybody who's here and applying.
So any old random...
Clear the backlog now. It's what Boris Johnson actually said he would do. When he was Mayor of London, he said there should be an amnesty.
And as we know, the problem, if you do go down the amnesty route, then people just take that as a green light. More people will take that as a green light to come to the country through illegal routes, on the assumption then there'll be another amnesty further down the line. It's a really dangerous route to go. It's a really hard thing to crack, because if it had been easy to crack, like the House of Lords, we would have done it before now. But it's really good, I think, that the government have made this such a high priority. You remember, they've got these 5 promises. They've made a big fuss about it. They're going to have to get to it. We know that the Prime Minister is someone who likes to get into the details of a policy. Let's see what they come out with, and let's hope that they can deliver on it.
An amnesty. John McTernan says, just give them all an amnesty. I mean, if that wouldn't be a pull factor to the UK, guess what? First, you can just get on a boat. Don't even worry about your paperwork. We don't care who you are, quite frankly. You can find yourself in a four-star hotel and Bob's your uncle. You're in. Done. By the way, he says 80% of people, I was just talking about the Albanians, get their claims approved. I'm saying, how can that be? Because of the backlog. And just to be clear, in the 12 months of September 2022, 85% of Albanians who arrived by the small boat submitted asylum applications, but only 50 of them, which is 0.7%, have received an initial decision, and none of them were granted refugee status or another type of leave to remain. There you go. By the way, let's not forget that many of the people that do come over and try and get asylum claims are indeed learned men. If you're that in danger, why don't you take your wife, your sisters and your kids with you? I don't know. You tell me, get in touch. GBViews@gbnews.uk is my email address.